What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, the place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. And today is a special episode, so I'm just going to get right into it because this is a previously recorded episode, but please know this is live right now. And tonight on the comment section, myself, Tanner, and Brandon will all be live here answering your questions and engaging your comments. So I truly hope that you enjoy this episode of the Raw and Unscripted Show. It's truly one of my most accomplished interviews, conversations in my broadcasting career, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Without any further ado, thank you guys all for being here too, and have tissues and be prepared. All right, I love you guys.
Welcome back to the Wave Media Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to episode 32. Today we talk to Chris Rausch and Tanner Cipriano. We go on the Chris Rausch Raw and Unscripted podcast. Take Tanner with us to talk about some ways that you can battle mental adversity, and some coping strategies, some success stories, some tragic stories. But it's a really, really helpful episode, I think, to a lot of people who might be going through something mentally, family member dying, depression. Just take a listen, hear Brandon, Tanner, and Chris tell their stories and talk to each other. I think you're really going to get a lot from it. Let's start this episode right now.
I've organized my useless life in a way of
everybody, welcome back to another episode of Raw and Unscripted with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, the place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is this going to be a show to remember? This is going to be a show unlike anything I've ever done before, quite honestly. We're going to be delving into some very serious topics, and more unlike my usual shows where I'm kind of laughing and joking around and everything. This one you might find me being a little bit more serious because of the nature of the topics we're going to be talking about. And you know, it's at a time right now in our world where people are suffering, people are struggling, and people are, you know, wondering what the new normal is. They're wondering what's going to happen next. They're dealing with loss. They're dealing with pain. They're dealing with identity crisis. And we're going to be talking a lot about those subjects here today in a very vulnerable and open format. That's what I bring to you guys with the Raw and Unscripted Show, is the fact that this is raw, this is real, this is not scripted, this is totally three guys going to be talking about the seriousness of life and how abruptly things can change and how you process those things and how you rise above to use that pain as leverage to grow stronger and to make a deeper impact in the world based on that pain. You guys have followed me for a while. You guys know that I believe in taking your pain and turning it into your treasure and figuring out how to process something that's catastrophic in your life to provide that leverage and that impact that you can pay it forward somehow with your pain, that you can help other people. That's what this show is about today. I'm not going to let you know exactly what the topic is at this moment because I just want to bring my guests on. We're just going to start chit-chatting and sharing our souls with you today in a very impactful way. So I'm pleased to bring on to the Raw and Unscripted Show, Mr. Tanner and Mr. Brandon. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Fabulous. I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Excited. Very excited. Talk about fun stuff.
Yeah, breathing and blessed, baby. Let's go.
Yes. Well,
I'm also nervous. I'll say that too. You gave us really high expectations. Now I feel like, what am I going to say that's even going to meet these expectations? So I don't know if we can live up to it, but we'll try. So, okay.
I'm fairly confident. I just want to start off the show again by just thanking you guys for, again, being who you are, sharing your souls. You've already done it on your particular podcast from the Wave Media Podcast Group. I won't give away the title because that'll give away what we're about to talk about. But I just want to ask the question right now, just to kind of kick things off and understand. I've been doing this in a lot of my interviews, is how has this particular situation in our life with the pandemic, how has this impacted you individually and impacted your families? And if any perspective shifts you've had during this time about your life?
Randy, you start.
For me, it's just put the focus back on family, right? And I guess for me being engaged and having a dog at home and just trying to figure things out, well.
What's the dog's name?
Maggie. Full name Magnum. MG.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
357?
That's her given name. Yeah, she's a bird dog, Labrador. She's awesome. I love her.
She's great. She's very nice.
No, she's beautiful.
But yeah, for me, it's just put an emphasis back on family. You realize that there's so much you can't control. So like, You go back to the high school football days, control the controllable, right?
Yep.
And that lesson that holds true in real life. All I can impact is like the relationships that I have around here. And, I can only create business opportunities, like, the ones that I work hard to, try to make happen. Like those are going to be the relationships that I got to hold on to. Those are the people that we got to take care of during this time. We work with a lot of small businesses here. So like our priority right now is just taking care of our clients and, making sure that we do good work for them. And, that's been my focus, community oriented, finding ways to engage with people when, engagement is unconventional and it's often, through remote discussions. So that's kind of where my head's at, but it hasn't really changed my perspective. I always knew that people inherently are, it's tribalism at its finest right now. And that's just, that wasn't anything we didn't already know. I don't think it's just magnified due to the circumstances. But like I said, I can't control that. So love yourself and be good to the people around you. And, that's obviously something that you got to work on. Hard work works in that regard. But that's been my focus. What about you, Tanner?
I'll tell you, it hasn't really changed anything for my life. My life is going pretty normal, pretty easy, pretty straightforward.
Yeah?
No, no, my life kind of
sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen.
Long story short, we will get into it later, but like actually, to be honest, last few months, really since this past fall, my whole life is kind of like upturned and like fallen apart in the way that the old version of my life has kind of fallen apart, and I've rebuilt out of it. And this whole quarantine season has only amplified that. And there's good parts of it and bad parts. I'd say, to be honest, I'm at a point where it's a very good thing. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people are being hurt right now, and that's a really shitty thing. And I want to help everybody. I know everybody else wants to help everybody that we can. But for me personally, everything going on right now has given me a chance to just take a break from all my problems and everything I've put off dealing with, and it's forced me to deal with everything. And as best of a way as I can and as healthy as I can. And I'll say that like it's these days, it's ups, it's downs, it's all around. But like I feel in a much better place than I have in a long time. And I feel much more present. I think that's what's kind of forced me I've learned how to be more present than I have in a long time. And I can't worry about the past and I can't worry about the future. Because right now, frankly, there is no future. We don't know what the future looks like. And the past is the past, so there's no reason to worry about that. And so I've just been forcing myself to be more present, and that's difficult right now.
What does that look like to you? What does being more present look like to you?
Lately, it's been meditating in my underwear every morning, which has helped me a lot. And my sister just walked in on me meditating today in my underwear and asked if I was busy. I yelled at her, "Get out of the room. I'm meditating," because that's what you're supposed to do when you meditate. But no, and presence, I will say that it's a constant battle between the anxieties of like, what's happening with my life right now? Because as I said, like I don't know what the future holds for me. Like I've left a lot of things behind lately in the last few months, and I'm very scared. I'm very nervous about what's ahead of me. And there's anxiety in that. And there's also anxiety in just relationships day to day, and anxiety in my family, helping out with my family, taking care of them. So it's been forcing myself to kind of just like sit still, take deep breaths, and just enjoy moment to moment. And I think that's where I've been. I think just being present is where I've been.
Wow, gentlemen, I have to say, and I know that I've been on your podcast before, Brandon, and we've gotten to know each other through the family. But what you both just shared, I mean, just for the viewers, you guys at home, just the intro to this show, just listen to those answers, because if you guys have watched my show at all, that's exactly what I've been talking about. It says, what can you control? I mean, people are talking about what the new normal is. I'm like, there was never a normal in your life necessarily. It was just the things you thought you could control. But the fact that, when you realize, when you give up that expectation, like, okay, everything has to be certain and figured out and in this template so that I don't have fear, I don't have anxiety or scarcity. What you just said, Tanner, is really cool, because it's about being alive. It's about, people I was coaching somebody yesterday and they were talking about fear. And I said, okay, have you ever been on a roller coaster before? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, think about that. You're standing in line to go do something that is scary, that's going to push your adrenaline, that's going to push you out of your comfort zone, and you're excited about it. So when you think about the fear of something that's going on in life, you're afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow. How about being excited about what's going to happen tomorrow as it unfolds? And that's something that I personally struggle with most of my life. I mean, I have struggled with that because I was a control freak. I was a survivor. You know, my coach told me last year, she goes, shit, mate, you have to get out of the fucking survivor mode. And I'm like, I'm not in survivor mode. My life is really good. She goes, no, you are constantly trying to figure out what plan A, B, and C is. You're trying to control the outcome, predict the outcome with the best certainty because you don't want to fail. You don't want to go back to the situation that you had, you know, when I was homeless. And it took me a while to accept that and like, go, wow, you know, that's really true. I'm always constantly trying to survive. So the nuggets you guys already shared about being in the moments and focusing on family, that is so beautiful. And I my heart breaks when I heard a story yesterday. My buddy was telling me that his wife is a teacher down in Australia and just talking about some of these kids that they're coming in contact with because their home life is so terrible. And I'm just like, you know, wow, just, you know, you should be focusing on that and growing that. And I love what you said, Tanner, is about, okay, I'm turning that pain into something else, and I'm turning it into a curiosity. I'm turning it into an excitement. When you think back on your life, what other moments in your past, aside from what we're going to talk about, what other moments in your life have you been scared of where that you changed and you shift and you turned that into energy, whether it was with football or sports or high school or girls, or what was some other situation in your life where you look back at it and perhaps maybe you could have done something differently or you did something that you wanted to do?
Tell him sideline captain.
Whoa, you were smiling. You start.
Sideline captain. No, I was smiling because like he was talking about football and I was thinking about how you were a captain senior year.
Yeah, I was captain, self-proclaimed. That's the way to do it. If you want to be captain, just start telling people you're captain, and eventually they'll have to give you the title.
Some of us got voted in too.
And some of us just walked into it. Yeah, that's the way it is. But Brandon, you start. Talk about some football stuff. Or do you want me to start with sideline captain?
I'd like you to start.
Okay, well, so we're talking about sideline captain and points. Okay, sports. I'm not good at sports. I'm really bad at all sports, most sports, all sports. And so my whole life, that's been my what I've had to live with. God gave me a lot of good things, did not give me athleticism. And so it's constantly like living a life trying to play sports because I enjoy being with a team and everything. It's constantly like, okay, how do I like bring an attitude where I'm like, enjoy doing this with people? Because I know I'm enjoying being with the people, but I don't necessarily enjoy actually playing the sport. And so it got to a point, senior year of football, 4 years of football with Brandon, of not being good at football, 4 years. And it was senior year, it was our last year, and I kind of just, me and our friend, Peter Aiello, shout out Petey. We just at the beginning, every week we would have these events called Unity. There's Brandon right there. What's he doing? And should I keep talking?
No, I just changed the screen.
Just come on, man. Unprofessional. This is what I'm talking about. This would never happen. This would never happen in Chris's studio.
It's not happening in my studio.
Not happening. Yeah, he just starts walking over here like, geez Louise. That's what we're working with. Okay.
Yeah, I can actually do this.
Yeah. Hold it on, Brandon. Let's just stare and watch.
I don't like that.
And you guys are smiling. He's like looking pouty over here. Like,
what?
Come on, enjoy yourself.
Oh my.
We're having fun. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry about
Tough
yelling
crowd.
too. Top.
Well, no worries. We're gonna get the nuggets of the show pretty quick, so people better fasten your seatbelt.
Get ready. I'm throwing a lot at them. We're gonna throw a lot at them.
Sideline captain, because I kind of knew the story.
I suck at football. That's the long story short. And senior year, I just got tired of sucking at football, and I got tired of watching Brandon before every game the night before, we would have these practices, unity dinners where we'd all meet, have dinner, and like kind of just like get the whole team together, get excited, rah for the next day. And before the dinner, we would also meet as a team in our locker room, and the captains would go and kind of give up like the rah speeches, like we're getting ready for the game tomorrow. And they'd always be talking to just like the people that actually play, like, which is right because those are the people that are actually going to be doing anything during the games. But me and Petey just got tired of it. We both said, like, we're tired of Brandon talking. We don't need to hear Garrett talking anymore. We don't need to see David Houle do whatever David Houle does.
Is that how it happened?
And yeah, me and Petey had our little meeting. And
we're talking about people that can't defend themselves right now.
Yeah, good. I'm calling you all out right now, all captains. Anthony, let's go. Me and you, Darko, he would beat me up. No, Darko, I love you. So me, Peter, just decided like, you know what, the rest of us need some inspiration too. So fuck it. We're new captains now. We're sideline captains. And we took it upon ourselves to make sure that everybody who doesn't play every game, who also sucks at football or just is not as good as everybody else, and doesn't suck as much as us, who's standing on the sideline every game, they got to be as much a part of this game as everybody else is. And we've got to make sure they're invested in this. And because at the end of the day, the team is the team. It's not just the people that are on the field. It's not just the people that are playing and scoring those touchdowns. It's also the people that are just having the energy, the morale on the sideline, supporting those guys to keep doing what they got to do. And so me and Petey just took upon ourselves to start like, we're sideline captains now because we need somebody to stand on the sideline and pump all these people up, because if anything, these are the more important people. We don't care about the people playing the game. We need the people behind us on this line. They're the ones who are going to hold the line when it really matters and get everybody up. And Brandon's looking at me right now. Like,
no, I just want to ask you, like, I'm so curious how, and it kind of goes back to his original question. Like, how did that shape you? How did there's so many things you've went through, but I've never asked you explicitly how being a sideline captain has shaped you as a man today.
As a man today.
Sorry, Chris, this one's for me.
Yeah, no, this is good.
I was getting there. Yep.
I was not ready to talk about sideline captain, so this is good. Throwing me for a loop, breaking down. I'd say it was realizing that it's not all about the people that we see playing on the field. It's also about the people on the sideline. It's about the people supporting the people on the field. And I think that's in life is like, it doesn't matter if you're the one that's like, that everybody sees doing the good. What matters more is if you're just helping the people on the sideline. Right now, there's a lot of people unspoken for, unsung for, and those people need even more help than the people we do see in the news. And if anything, you've got to be the sideline captain in your own life. You might not be getting the awards. You might not be getting the playtime on the TV. You might not get, nobody will know your name. But you'll know your name, and the people you help will know your name because you're a sideline captain in life, and you're helping the people that need the help on the sideline. Is that making sense? Am I making sense right now?
Yeah, you were an unsung hero.
I'm an unsung hero. I'm not the unsung hero. I'm standing up for the unsung heroes because the unsung heroes need more help than the heroes right now because there's a lot of people being forgotten and left behind. And I think sideline captain, it was me realizing that it didn't matter if I was voted to be a captain or if other people chose you to be a leader. Sometimes you just take it upon yourself to lead the people and to lead them in a good way. And that's what sideline captain was for me. It was standing up when I knew that I had something to say and I wanted to help those people. Because otherwise, all those people, including me, would just be standing on the sideline being like, fuck, we got 2 hours of this thing, watching Brandon do his thing. And like, that's boring. I don't like watching football. Spoiler alert. But yeah, that's how sideline captain made me the man who I am to be today.
Dude, that's awesome. I love the fact that you just took responsibility and took ownership and said, how can I take a shitty situation and make it fun? If people, again, just draw that out of the show and just say, okay, wow, if I take responsibility of being this sucks, then how can I make this being better? You took ownership for that. And I'm sure that's actually played out in the rest of your life, I would imagine.
Yeah. I suck at a lot of things, but you know what? I do my best. So that's what we can do. I also feel like Brandon's laughing right now as if he just threw this out, not thinking I was going to take it seriously. And then I did. And then I don't know, where are you at, Brandon?
I'm laughing because I think like Chris is saying that like, wow, it's amazing how you turned like the disappointment of not being a starter into a positive experience. You like maximized your like value for the team by finding new ways to be a leader, not just on the field. And like, I think you were perfectly content with your role.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, darn it, I guess I'll do this. It was just like, this is me.
But I think it applies.
Didn't you bust every part of your body like in every preseason or something like that?
Yeah, Tanner got broken a lot. He got broken a lot.
Yeah, well, I did for three years. And then senior, I just let the little kids go off. Yeah, 3 years, I tore an ACL. I got a large spleen. I got a contusion. I broke my toe. I broke every bone in my body.
Dude was always in crutches.
And this was me without even playing a game. I never played a game, so I should not have been hurt at all.
Just practice.
Yeah. But it was fun.
No, at least you're all healed up now. What about you, Mr. Malinowski? How do you answer that question?
What are some experiences that have shaped me over the years? Is that what the question is generally?
Yeah. What has been an experience besides the ones we're going to talk about that you look back on your life and you think, wow, that was a time in my life where I made a decision that caused me to be a better person or caused me to grow from a situation that I wasn't happy with?
Oh, I think I want to talk about one. I want to give credit to my parents. I was, very fortunate. We were kind of they made decent money, but for lack of a better term, we were kind of the poor people in the rich neighborhood. I mean, we were just always like saving and trying to be very frugal and wise with money. That's what I learned from my parents, right? But I think that, as far as one of the experiences that has shaped me the most, it was the decision to take me and put me in Catholic Central High School rather than going to public school. I wanted to go there to be a good football player, but my parents wanted me to go there to be a better man. And we've talked about it before. I'm a big believer in environment, right?
Yep.
And I think that was the perfect environment for somebody like me that was,
Troublemaker.
my dad would describe me as like, everyone's wearing a blue hat and you're just that asshole with the red hat. He wouldn't call me an asshole. I'm paraphrasing. He would just be like, don't be the red hat, buddy. And I was always like the red hat.
Be the
So
red
like,
hat. Be the red hat. Be the red hat. Hell yeah.
so that Catholic school education with, administration of like tough people, like wise people, people that, and like teachers and coaches that just like knew how to handle someone like me that just needed some. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That as far as like, I know that's a 4-year answer because I was there for 4 years, but that experience has shaped me the most. I would be a shell of the man that I am today if I didn't have that experience. And my parents made a lot of sacrifices for that to happen. Driving old cars, wearing the same suits for, 15 years. Like they saved and they sacrificed for me. And there was other people that helped along the way too. And I'm extremely thankful for that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I remember Brandon freshman year. Like I remember all of it. Me and Ken, everybody taking bets on like how soon he was going to get expelled.
Did you think I was going to be like one of those guys that transferred out?
You know what? He was a
Did you actually think that, or are you just making
Yeah,
conversation?
no, not making conversation. And everyone's just like, this kid's
comes out.
no future here, no future anywhere, if anything.
Are you
And
serious?
Look at him now. He's producing podcasts.
I didn't know you thought. I didn't know you thought.
I didn't
that
even
about
know
me.
you freshman year. I didn't even
Okay.
care about you.
All right,
Don't
because
get
I
ahead
was
of
going to
yourself.
say like,
No, but it is looking at where you are today. I've seen a lot of growth in you, and I'm very proud of you.
yeah,
Very proud of the man. you've
shit keeps
become.
on happening, and it's forcing growth out of all of us. It's crazy.
And shit's gonna keep happening. That's just life.
I don't
man.
even like ask why anymore when like
Mm.
bad things happen. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's get through it.
Another bad thing. It's like, when's the next bad thing gonna happen? Because like right now, I'm just hanging out, and things are going too well. So.
Yeah, but like I'm still excited about all the good things, and I do realize that there's way more good than bad, right?
Yeah. But there's a mix of good and bad, and like at some point, what is the definition of good? What's the definition of bad? Like, can you take a bad thing and make it a good thing? Can you take a good thing and like too much of a good thing is a bad thing? So what's the definition of
It's all
not-
relative, and
it's all relative.
relativity is relative.
relativity?
Relatively
and, like,
speaking.
I've got lots of relatives, so like we can get into that too.
All right, Chris, take control of your show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
we're going
I
off the
think-
rails. Is this what everyone
all
signed up for?
I haven't seen him in a while, so he's like
Oh, yeah,
literally
that
just
is-
came here and
And
we're
I'm
doing it.
almost done with a cold brew.
Nice.
All right, Chris, drive, baby.
So ultimately, it's about perspective, right? It's about, you just said it, Tanner. It's about looking at situations. It's not good or bad. I was talking to somebody the other day, like, I've been through so many horrible experiences in my life. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, what have you learned from each one of them? And she was like, oh, this and like this and like this. And I said, okay, so if you sit there and consider that life is happening for you and not to you, and you look at it, like we said before, about that sense of wonderment and excitement and embracing the uncertainty of life, because, as we know, things happen, things change immediately. I can remember a date in my life, May 10th, 1982. Specifically, I can remember leaving the house that I grew up in and going into a station wagon to live with 18 cats and 2 dogs. I remember that day. Every year it comes up, I'm like, oh, I get chills. It's been 28 years since this happened, but look at the journey I've been on. And when I went back to that junior high school that I dropped out of and spoke to those 7th and 8th grade kids in my full circle journey, it was so amazing when I walked in that gymnasium, because I was like, wow, I have been homeless. I have tried to commit suicide. I've had all these different things happen to me. And now I'm coming back to teach these kids about life. And it just came full circle, and it gave deep meaning on that. I'm going to ask you guys both a separate question. I'm going to start with Tanner. What specific day in your life really changed everything for you?
Well, I was born on March 28th, 1995, so that was a big change, going from the warm, comfy womb, then like cold, hard world. And then any other dates, The big one is April 16th, 2012. Do we want to get into that right now, or you plan that later, or is this the best time?
Yep, let's go right into it.
April 16th, 2012. Take it back, run it back. So that's when everything changed for me. So my family, God bless my family. There's 6 members. It's me. There's my twin brother, Salvatore. I call him Tori. He wants everybody else to call him Sal. There's my little sister, Isabella. There is my dad, Bobby, Robert, Robbie, Bubba, whatever you want to call him. My mom, Rose, and my older brother, Tucker. And so there's 6 of us in the house. And on 6 of us growing up, April 16th, 2012, I woke up to the sounds of a break-in in our house. And I found out that over the course of a morning, my dad was killed in this break-in, and my twin brother, Sal, Tori, and my mom, Rose, were both put into coma, critically injured in ICU. And me and my sister were unharmed. Luckily, we ended up living with my aunt and uncle. Shout out Uncle Dennis, Aunt Sandy. And then to top it all off is the one who committed the act was my brother Tucker and a friend of his, Mitchell. And they were on drugs during it, and they came in for money. And that kind of was, that's the date that everything changed for me. And it was kind of like I was 17. Me and my twin were 17, 16 or 17. I believe it was 17. Junior high school. And that's when pretty quickly, in the matter of, an hour, 15 minutes less, I realized like, oh, my life is never going to be the same. But in that moment, I realized like pretty quickly also this is going to be the event this will be a defining event of my life, a defining moment of my life. But I can never let this define my life. And I think ever since then, it's been 8 years now. Ever since then, it's been a constant struggle to like, I know that that's a part of me. That's one of the biggest parts of me, but that's not the only part of me. And I've been trying like finding all these other parts of me so that I can keep moving forward and keep and that's really like a bad thing. Some people might call it a very bad thing. Some other people might call it a very, very bad thing. It was a bad thing, but the amount of good I've been able to find and have done with it, I think I've tried to make up for it. And you try to find, it's a meaningless event that like, there was no reason for it. And we can get into that. Drugs, mental illness, the system, the man, patriarchy, economic class, everything. We can always just pack it in there. But really, there's no reason for it to have happened, but it did. And so the rest of my life has been trying to figure out find reasons in that, and find the meaning in the meaningless. And that's when everything changed for me. And then there was plenty of other dates. There was December 3rd, 2012. There was December 11th or November 11th, 2015.
Let's go back for a second, Tanner. And again, I want to sincerely thank you for sharing this. That when Brandon had first told me about it, and I'd listened to your guys' previous podcast, I understood it, and I guess I got it cerebrally, but I didn't get it in my heart and my soul. And it wasn't until I went and Googled it and really did the research and saw, the story and saw the testimonies and saw the impacts of what happened to your mom and Sal. I mean, I literally broke down. I was just like, wow, and trying to make sense of it for myself, because I was like, okay, what was it? What, caused it? Why wasn't it the situation? Why wasn't it the neighbors? Because I know they were talking about possibly the neighbors. And in my heart, as I've spent like 2 or 3 hours, reviewing all the video footage and just understanding that, it broke my heart. And to see the story that has come out of this for yourself and for your mom and for Sal and for so many other people that potentially have been impacted, Isabella, your extended family, and seeing the courage and seeing the determination and doing the 5K races and continuing to watch Sal's progression is unfucking believable. I mean, you talk about unstoppable, you talk about strength, you talk about family, you talk about love. You guys are the epitome of that. I mean, it's truly inspiring. And, when I think the thing that bothers me the most, honestly, is that it was your older brother, Tucker. Talk to me about Tucker as a kid. How was he, was there any signs of situations that were happening in his life that would have given you any indication that he might be violent and potentially do something this catastrophic?
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's looking back, it's realizing like he was an older brother. He was 2 years older than us. And he always had more issues with like behavior and actions, but it's any kind of like kid growing up, trouble, rebel, older kid. You have two little brothers, twins. So like we're gonna get a little more attention when we're younger, and like so jealousy. But he was also like he had he had mental illnesses that probably went undiagnosed. That like I think that's the biggest part of our story. I want to say would want to it to be a lesson is that he was mentally unwell for all of his life, and it was undiagnosed. There was things that he did was getting help for. My mom and dad did everything to help him, and they loved him. He was our older brother, and they did everything they could. But it was the schools that were just like didn't know how to handle him. It was professionals who didn't really know how to like help him the best. And I think it was just like there's a difficulty in people like trying to. We don't know what's the best thing for mental illness. And then when mental illness like is led to like get worse and worse, then people turn to drugs and start self-coping with and self-medicating. And I think that's when it started really going downhill. And is when he started like my parents tried to get him medication, like prescribed medication that was helping, but none of that was helping. And then like the people that like psychiatry and like all those people. And my mom knows a lot more than me of like raising Tucker, but I know that he was falling through the cracks, I think is the hardest part of all this. And it's hard to say that knowing that my mom did literally everything they could to help him, but he was still falling through the cracks. And that's how difficult it is these days to really find the help that people need. And it just got worse and worse. And then by the time high school came around, he was like just in a very bad place and hanging out with like bad people were just not good for him. And school wasn't helping him. And so it feels like it's more of the system that had failed him than it was himself, because like he was trying and my mom and dad were trying. And so, yeah, there was definitely incidences where we could see like, okay, he's acting out more than a normal teenager would, but it's like we're doing everything we can. And really he started living more with friends before everything. I think that's when he really like got bad with drugs and self-medicating. And then it just got worse and worse until like the night when he was just fully blown on drugs. And at this point, says he doesn't even remember any of it. And then it happened, and then it's like the pieces. And so, yeah, it's so it can't even like really put the blame. But then there's also this whole part of it where like it's hard not to put the blame on him because he's the one who did it. He brought his friend to our house, and so as me and as his younger brother, like you're the older brother who's supposed to be protecting us and supposed to be watching us, and do the exact opposite of that. Like, yeah, that's pretty friggin' bad. But it's I can't swear. I don't want to swear in front of my mom. But so yeah, there's some warning signs, but it's not like we didn't do everything we could to help, and it just got worse and worse. And it's so difficult to help with mental illness these days, and it's getting better. Just podcasts like this, talking about it like this. This is what's helping. This is how you deal with mental illness. And and seeking professional. We're not professionals. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Maybe Brandon does, but not me. No, Brandon doesn't either.
I just
Chris,
work
you probably
here.
know more. And you barely work here. You don't even know you walked over here. This is unprofessional. Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
No, let me ask you a question real quick on that. In hindsight, because we always want to play armchair quarterback, to quote something football, so Brandon gets a hard on.
Yeah, he loves armchair.
If we play armchair quarterback, we go back into hindsight's 2020.
Sideline football, you can say too.
Yeah. How has there been family conversations like, if I wish we would have done this? Because people are watching this. I know I had somebody reach out on LinkedIn to me years ago and said, because I mentored at-risk kids, and they're like, the situation happened, what would we do? So I was trying to help them. So in hindsight, do you think it would have been appropriate to have them committed, or do you just think that you did everything you possibly could and this is just the road that it was going to play out in?
Yeah, my mom and dad tried to have him committed to rehab. They actually, I believe he was, again, this is all stuff my mom is better with now. And my mom's is back to normal. She's just our mom now. So she's doing really well. And my brother is doing a lot better. Salvatore Torre is doing a lot better. He's still got a big road ahead of him, but they're doing better, but we can get in that later. But speaking with Tucker, yeah, as me not being around for the process, I know that they tried to commit him, and it came down to like his decision. And if he was like, and he would go for a little bit, but then he would like go out, and it just wasn't working for him. So, and again, it's his decision. It comes down to like their decision to change, and you can only do so much. But it's something about like you got to just maybe we got to think more creatively about how we help these people, about how we help drug addicts and mental illness. And we just don't. I don't know what the answer to it right now is. I don't know what could have changed everything. Just more attention. I think mental illness, drug addiction is such a complicated beast that I think our system tries to put it into like the same kind of disease that you just give them a medicine just to like you have a broken arm, so you give them some drugs just, and then they don't feel the broken arm anymore, and eventually it goes away. And I think maybe sometimes our system is trying to treat these very complicated issues of drug addiction and mental illness in the same way. It's like we just put them we give them some drugs, and we put them in if it gets worse, we put them in an institution for 60 days, and then after that, like we don't know what to do, and like then it's up to you. And that's clearly not working, and it's not working. I don't know what. I'm not a very smart person, so I have to leave it to smarter people to figure out the more creative solutions. But it's something. There's got to be some more way, and it also is so unique, case by case. It's not like one thing that work that one thing that works for one person is going to work for this another person. It's like it's a case by case, and which makes it even more complicated. It's like where do we begin to start helping anybody? Because I don't know.
Well,
That's the question right there.
Where do we begin?
I have a plot thickening question. Is there a history of family drug dependencies, psychiatric issues in the bloodline that would have caused this situation that would have kind of been a predictor, or is the family all normal and fine?
No, there's nothing. There's nothing to there's no real mental illness that we see in our family that goes through. And
I don't even know if that's fair, because like
the other whole part of this is
that's what I was leading to is
he is adopted. My brother is adopted, so like we don't know his family as well. But I think I push against that. It's really hard, but it's I think some people would like to zone in there and think like, okay, the adoption is where it's different. It's like, and I think that's all just even more makes it. That's trying to simplify it even more. And it's not because he was adopted and he's a different family. Like my family loved him just as much. He was a biological brother, biological son of our family.
Yeah. And when I said like your adopted brother, you did what? You cut me off. You said, no. Yep. That's my brother.
That's my brother. Yeah. And that's because that's important. And like, but at the same time, the adoption is part of it, because like I, as a biological son of my parents, I can't understand what it feels like to be adopted, because that's a whole nother like slew of issues of feelings of.
When did he find out? When did he find out he was adopted, or did he?
Young age, he always knew. That's something growing up I didn't understand. I didn't know why he was, and that was something, especially as you get older, from what I understand, like adopted children are more. It's hard feelings of like, why would my biological parents abandon me or neglect, and like I don't belong anywhere. And I think that's all very valid. And I think that's what makes it even harder is like these adopted children can be loved just as much as biological children, but there's still some feeling of my original parents gave me up. My original parents abandoned me. And like, there's no amount of love that can fill that sometimes. And that's I think that's what breaks me even more is like, I can't understand. I can't completely empathize with Tucker's situation, because I don't know what it feels like to have that deep degree of abandonment, especially in the face of such deep love from these new parents. And that's even more contradictory and makes it even harder. So that's why it's like, it's hard, because people like to like bring up he's adopted. So that maybe that's where it came from, but no.
But that goes back to my original part of the question is, was there history of mental abuse or mental illness in their family? Do you know their family?
We don't know their family. My parents know his history more. I know there was drug addiction in his family and there's illness in his family. So I believe there's stuff that
the biological part of it,
biological family. Yeah, there's definitely stuff that's coming through there that is, it complicates things too. And not knowing that history as fully is also complicated. So.
I know I'm dealing with that too. I mean, you guys know we adopted Jackson from birth. We know the birth parents and everything. Fortunately, great guys and everything. But what you just said, really draws into my own thoughts on almost a daily basis as he gets older is like, okay, having that conversation with him to say, hey, I mean, he's grown up and I mean, Brandon, you know, he's grown up, I get chills. He's grown up in the most loving environment we could possibly give him. But we know that there's going to be a point in his growth period where he's going to be like, oh, wait, what? Okay, so what happened? And we're going to be able to tell him a story. But the situation on our side is the fact that, and I've seen this in other adopted situations, they had another kid and they've kept him. So then there's that psychological issue of dealing with that. But I mean, his quote unquote brother has major medical issues, so that's why they kept him. They didn't think he was going to have a chance being adopted out. They were still young parents, and they've kept him. So I know that that's going to be a lot for him to process. Like, okay, I was born healthy and I was born great, and now I'm in this awesome family, and now my brother is in this situation and he's dealing with that. So there's going to be all sorts of different guilt associations with that. But the one thing I really, really admire about you, Tanner, is the fact that the love you've shown for Tucker, you continue to show for him, the defense that you've done for him. Again, I watched the witness testimony. I watched him have conversations with your uncle. I mean, it's crazy how much is online. I mean, it's almost freaky. Stuff is in there. One of the big questions I have for you, and I kind of know the answer, but I want the audience to hear that. How did you process all that? I mean, to go from, I mean, obviously the different ranges of emotions, and how did you come to terms with, he's still my brother, I still love him, I still support him? Talk to us about that process, because I mean, good Lord, I mean, I can imagine the conversations that you must have had in your head and your family. And I also want to get some other perspectives from your other family members too, but just that question really strikes at me is like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's so the morning everything happened, April 16th, 2012, I woke up at like 5, made a 911 call, brought the police over. Then eventually the police took me out and put me in I was put in the back of a police car just to keep me safe there, while they like investigated the house, looked at everything, because it was a grisly scene, to say the least. And so I was in the car. I remember thinking in the car, I was alone. It's like 6 a.m. and realizing what I said earlier is that this is the moment of my life that will be a defining moment of my life, but I cannot let it define me, whatever that means. And I don't really know what that means. And I don't know how I was 17 years old, so I don't know how it came to me, but I'm a God-fearing individual. So I think it's partly my God. And I also think it's also my dad, who at that time, I also knew there was a point when a police officer came over to me while I was waiting in the car. I didn't know the condition of any of my family members at this point still. But a police officer came to me to tell me that my dad was dead. My dad was murdered. And but he said also that he was a Catholic Central dad. Shout out CC. Go Shamrocks. Let's rock. Eat rice. And but he told me that as a CC dad, he knows that this is an unimaginable tragedy, but the community at Catholic Central will be there to help me through it. And there will be priests there will be my brothers, there will be CC families, and everybody will help us through it. And so that was a very comforting notion in the middle of chaos. And then he left me to think about everything and sit in the car. And that was when sitting in the car that morning was when I realized, like, so to flash back a little bit, me and Tucker did not have a good relationship growing up. I did not like him. Especially as he got older, I saw all the problems in our family. I was just like, okay, it's Tucker acting up. It's like he's doing things that are irrational. And especially growing up and not completely understanding his mental illness and his drug addiction. But also having my twin brother, who I understand completely. We didn't always get along, but I knew why he was acting the way he was. It was a very rational person, and me being a very rational person compared to my older brother, Tucker, who would always act very irrationally. So I had resentment. And I even I hated him growing up. There's points when I really, truly hated him because of what I believed he was doing to our family. And but I always saw my parents continue to love him, forgive him, and let him back in the family no matter what happened. And I didn't understand that. I was just like, why? Our family is best when Tucker's not here. Why would you let him back in? And that's the way I was all the way up until this morning. And I was sitting in the cop car, and I realized, I just remember picturing 2 doors and in my head, and behind one door it was like I can either go down the door of hate and blame and saying Tucker did this to our family. Now more than ever I have reason to continue hating him, and now I have actual fact, an actual event that proves like how much he's hurt our family. And
Exactly.
everybody will understand why I hated him so much. And I can keep going down there. And I just realized I saw ahead, and like, that's just a spiral of descent into just hatred and bitterness and bad feelings, darkness. And at that point, all I knew was my sister was still alive. She was unharmed. And I knew that. And I just clicked in. I realized, like, I cannot take care of my sister if I hate somebody, if I'm angry the rest of my life. I need to watch out for my sister. And the only way I can do that is if I can move on from here and keep focused on her and myself. And then, so behind door number 2 was forgiveness. And I don't know what got me. Again, I'm going to say it's up to God. God's a great woman. She's a nice girl. And my dad acting through me. And I believe that I just realized, like, through forgiveness, through this door of forgiveness, I walk through it. That means that I can accept that what happened here. I accept that Tucker did this to our family, him and his friend, but I can move forward. And I'm not forgiving him I wouldn't be forgiving him for his sake. I'd be forgiving him for my sake. It would be moving this weight off my shoulder so that I can move forward and focus on myself and my sister. And it's only through forgiveness that I can move forward. And so in that car, I kind of realized, like, I have to forgive him. I have to let this go. I have to move on. It's the only way I can, like, move past it. And that's kind of what I did. And then from then on,
this all happened in the car. This conversation in your head happened in the car.
Yeah, in the cop car.
And this question's
How old were you?
17, about 17.
Holy fucking shit. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
What?
all right.
You had that conversation in your brain at 17 years old after finding out your dad was just murdered. Your mom and your brother are in a coma, and wow, that is profound. I mean, that is so, wow. That is beautiful. That is, I mean, crazy, but wow, just to have that frame of mind to say, wow, I can do these two things right now. And being 17 years old, I mean, that is massively powerful, dude. I have so much respect for you. That is, I mean, seriously, dude, can't wait to give you a big hug in person and have a beer, because that really, if you guys out there watching, have you guys get anything, I've already gotten something. Listen to the power in that, just the power of the choice, the power of, okay, am I going to be a victim of the situation, or am I going to try to figure out how to be a victor of the situation? Brandon, I think you had a question for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if you'll appreciate or dislike the granularity of it, but here it goes. And I asked
what color
you
were the
this.
seats? They're black.
No, I only ask you this because I like that decision you made, and I think if you want to, like, I'd like to touch on the funeral itself.
Yes.
But that decision you made was impactful. Like, it told me that, like, this guy is forgiving, and it's like the one time where, like, you don't have to, and nobody will ever no one will advise you.
Yeah.
Very few people would advise you to forgive. You did it.
Yeah.
So the question that I have for you is, like, did you actually see two doors in your head? Was it physically two doors in your brain?
Yeah.
Like one here, one there.
One was oak and one was mahogany.
All right, you're bullshitting
No,
me, but,
that's
like,
not good.
seriously,
But yeah,
did you see two doors?
I remember thinking doors. I remember thinking
Wow.
two doors. And that's what I remember thinking.
Yeah, but we talk about the power of visualization, right?
Mhm.
That's that in action, and, like, it was subconscious. Like, that was where your mind went.
Yeah.
Because I can't help but think that that's because of part of your experiences.
It is. Doors is, I have, some would call it unhealthy obsession with doors these days.
Loves handles.
Yeah, I love doors, handles. Yeah, if they're there, I'm going to touch it. I'm going to get up and I'm going to feel it. No.
Don't be weird.
Yeah. Don't tell me not to be weird. I'm going to be weird.
Don't be weird.
Life is weird. And I
You
kiss
can do what
it
you want.
and I lick it and I just feel the creases.
I enjoy this because you're messing with Chris. He doesn't know what to take seriously. And there's so many times that Chris has messed with me and I've just, like, not been sure where to go with it. And now it's, like, happening to him, and I'm seeing his eyes and his facial expressions.
I haven't even watched his
And
expressions.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
So we were talking about how I like to feel the creases of doors. Yeah. So if I'm going to dig into that, doors. Yeah. I just remember visualizing the door and the two doors, and I don't know why they came to my mind, but there's a whole nother thing I can get into my psyche of, like, why doors are important to me. But I can get into that another conversation. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I saw the doors in that car.
So with forgiveness being, kind of the touchstone of the conversation right at the moment, are there members of your family who do not forgive him? Or, I mean, I mean, Isabella was in the house with you. I mean, your mom actually saw. I mean, that's kind of one of the questions. Was he actually the one physically doing, or was it Mitchell? Was it the other guy, Mitchell?
Mitchell and Tucker. So that's a whole nother debate, is who did what, and like that's the debate and the testimony, the court testimony. That's the big like question of like who did what to what family member, and there's no way to know that because like none of us remember the night. I wasn't there. I was hiding under my desk like a little fucking friggin' coward. Sorry, Mom. No, I'm a hero. No, I'm not a hero. You're all heroes. Sidelines. But yeah, my family members. So nobody knows who did what in the event. I'll just say that. So in our close family, I'll start with our extended family. One, I'll make a note is I hate speaking for other people, so I'm sorry that I'm speaking on behalf of other people right now. But you asked me the question, so I'm going to answer it to the best of my ability. But I can say immediately after, it was difficult for, and I'd say it's still difficult for extended family members, relatives that I talked about earlier, the relativity. There's relatives that have harder time forgiving him, and I'd say maybe still haven't forgiven him. But there's also family members who still still continue to help them and like do what they can to help them. And so there's a spectrum of that. But the extended, the direct family, the immediate family, I'd say my mom. I'd say my sister is in a hard place because she was 8 years old when all of this happened, and up to that point, if anybody was seeing the loving side of Tucker, the good side of Tucker, like in those years leading up to it, it was my sister. So she was the one who saw like Tucker was a fun older brother to her and like saw the good sides. Whereas me and my twin brother, Tori, only saw the more combative, the more irrational part of him. So, and we just were around him more. So we had more reason to like build up resentment. So my sister is like, she was so young that like, does she even have a decision? It's like, and I think she's going to be battling that her whole life, not knowing how she feels about Tucker. So, but I know that, so I don't even know if it's a question of forgiveness or hatred for my sister, but like, it's something that she's going to have to figure out for herself, but she's a very smart person who will figure it out. And Tori I don't think he does forgive Tucker. I think he is angry at the situation because like he was the most physically hurt, well, other than my dad. Yeah, my dad. He was physically hurt the worst out of our immediate family. And so he has the most reason to still be angry at the situation. And, but I think the power of Tori is that as angry as he is, justified in his anger, he doesn't let that stop him from like moving forward and getting better. And like, if anything, like, I don't think he thinks about Tucker that much. And I think if he does, he just thinks that like Tucker did this to me, but like now it's up to me to make my life better and like get stronger. So Tucker in the event is only like a passing thing that comes into his life sometimes and then it goes away and he focuses on just getting stronger himself. Tori is the strongest person you'll ever meet. So I hope you all meet him one day. But so he's moving on and he doesn't let the anger take him down. And I think that's a very powerful anger that's very justified as well. And then my mom, she is the most loving person you'll ever meet. She's like a beautiful soul. And this is for her, she lost her husband and she lost her oldest son. Her son is in prison. Like that's still her son. If anything, she knows more than anybody the difficulty that Tucker lived through just growing up with everything going on with like drug addiction and mental illness. She saw it firsthand. And if anybody also saw the good sides of Tucker, she saw it the most. And so now more than ever, it's difficult for my mom, and because he's in prison and she can't talk to him. And I think it's still a path that she's still trying to figure out. Like she still thinks of him as his son. He just sent her a letter on Mother's Day that she very appreciated. And my mom wants to keep him in our life. But at the same time, it's like difficult because like he also did this to our family. So, and she knows that as well. So it's something that she has to battle between knowing that he did commit this tragedy. At the same time, he's her son who was just as broken as anybody else, if not more broken than anybody else. And like, he also has to live with the rest of his life knowing that he led to the murder of his own father. And like, that's something that he has to live with. So yeah, my mom is like, yeah, she's a very good person. She's a very good person.
Can I make?
So there's-
I want to get back to the doors real quick. I'm sorry, Chris.
You love the doors.
One more time. One more question about the doors. Like,
Mahogany and oak, he
I
said.
know that you had that visualization, right?
Yeah.
But like, you don't just go through what you went through. And I can say this because like we like ultimately ended up going through it together as a community.
Yeah.
Like, you don't go through what you went through and just go through that door once. That has to be like a constant.
It's every day. You wake up every day.
It's
you
a
walk through the
constant
door again.
reaffirmation. It's literally like showering, but it feels like you have to do it more often, don't you?
Yeah.
Great point.
If anything, it's going back to like how the last few months and like lately I've been like, my whole life has been upturned and like everything's falling apart to be rebuilt as I go. I think the hardest thing that I've been dealing with is that by forgiving him that early, that quickly, like I was able to move on, and that was the only way I was able to survive. But 8 years later, I'm realizing there's still anger underneath there, and that I like never really dealt with, because I was always like, well, anger is just a bad feeling that like if I start getting angry, there's no reason for it, so I'm just gonna like keep running past it. And that anger finally caught up to me, I'd say, in this last few months, and it finally started coming in other places of my life. And I started feeling angry, not necessarily at the event, but just angry in general, more angry than I usually am. Would you call me a pretty angry person? I get angry all the time. I scream at everybody. I'm fucking pissed right now. No, I'm not angry. I'm pretty level-headed. But I think that's my problem, is that I kept thinking that anger is the unhealthy feeling. And it's only taken me 8 years to realize, like, no, I need to feel anger just as much as forgiveness, just as much as love. And I just need to think of it more I need to feel angry in a healthy way. And there's ways to do that. But I think that's where I'm at right now, is trying to get a better grapple of my anger and feel it in a healthy way. And because that anger comes out just in frustration, or it comes out in shame, in getting down on myself. So I think anger is my hardest emotion I'm dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. And without I mean, good Lord, give yourself a break. So thinking about, again, I watched Tucker's testimony, and I, from what I understand, he agreed to plead to life in prison without the possibility of parole to save you guys from having to go into court and testify. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's, I mean, God, it gives me goosebumps, Jesus. And I watched that testimony. I was crying. I was just like, wow, just watching this young soul who went on a journey and made a decision and had, I mean, personally, I'm just going to talk openly. I watched Mitchell's testimony, and I think he's a dick. I think he's an asshole. I think he's a calculated dick.
Yeah. I will say, I'll pause there. You can say anything about Mitchell. I don't know him. We didn't know him before, but I know for a fact that he comes from a very difficult past, a very difficult family as well. So there's problems that he's dealing with that we have no idea about. But that's also like, Mitchell is a harder issue to deal with, because like I don't know him as much. So, but you're very valid in thinking he's a dick. He killed my dad. So
his testimony, he was putting down his attorney right in front of him. He's like, and my attorney didn't do this, and my attorney didn't do this, and he was citing all this stuff, and he did not take any responsibility. He kind of said, well, yeah, I shouldn't have been. And the judge like slapped the shit out of him. He's like,
Chris, I'm gonna push back. I don't think we need to make it. Let's not make it about Mitchell and like how shitty of a testimony he did. But I will say, with Tucker's testimony, if you want to go, do you want to talk about that? Because there's a specific thing about that. Is that was the one time I've talked to him in 8 years. I made a phone call. My Uncle Greg, shout out Uncle Greg. He's one of our heroes. He was the one dealing with Tucker, is still dealing with Tucker the most out of our family. And during, when all that was happening, there was a prosecutor on our side, supposedly on our side, who kept trying to push us to go to testimony because, well, I'm not going to conjecture infer what she wanted, but they really didn't want him to take that plea deal. And honestly, like, Tucker didn't want to take that plea deal because, yeah, it's life. But my uncle was doing a good job of convincing him, saying, like, this is the only way that you can make sure that your family doesn't have to testify, like, do it for your family. And Tucker was going pretty, like, he was in the direction, but he was still not for sure about it. And the one phone call I've made to him in those 8 years is like telling him, Dad, if you do anything for Dad, if you do anything as my older brother, you have to take this plea, because that's the way that Dad raised us. That's how he would want you to protect not even me, just Isabella. You have to protect Isabella from this court. And good to his word, Tucker did it. He took the plea and he went for it, and so we didn't have to testify. But yeah, that was the one time, is like, this is a bad situation. Yeah, you did it. It's not good what you did, But if you're going to do one good thing out of this from here on out, is you got to take this plea deal for our family. And he did.
Wow. That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Now kind of catching up in the last, situations you've been through your life, what have you learned in this last, like you said, from last November up until now, what have you learned about yourself and what things can you share with the audience that can help them process whatever situations they're going through during this COVID, during this pandemic, and in their own personal mental challenges?
Grief is not fun, but it's also fun. It never ends. And it'll be with you forever. And it's difficult. The more that you put it off dealing with it, the worse it's going to be later on. And that's what I realized 8 years later, is I think when everything happened, I kind of like really invested in myself. Like, okay, I need to take care of my sister. I need to take care of our family. And I did a good job of taking care of myself. I thought I was doing a good job of taking care of myself. I started to realize like I'm investing so much time in taking care of other people around me that like I'm not putting the time in to take care of myself. But like I was able to make it work for me. I was able to continue on. And then I had several other tragedies that we need to get into pretty soon with Brandon here, that came up in years after that major tragedy, that again, I ended up having to step up to be the person. I forced myself to be the person to take care of other people. And Brandon knows exactly where I'm at.
You talked about grief, and that wasn't something that you did right away.
That's a good transition point, Tanner. I mean, I asked you that question that dovetailed into all of this discussion, and thank you again. What was the date for you, Brandon, where you had a situation in your life cause massive shift in your situation?
I've had a couple.
Me too.
December 3rd, 2012.
2012.
Yeah, that was a tough year.
Oh, tough year? I thought, okay.
So that's the year that I had to grow up. I had to grow up because of what happened to you. Like none of us had a choice. Like
boys to men, boys.
So I would say the first one is, in April of 2012, because like life was never the same after that. I looked grown men that I looked up to in the eye, and I asked them if like our brother Sal was going to live, and they told me, no, don't count on it. And it broke them to have to tell me that. But like, that was the consensus at that point. Right?
Yeah. We didn't know. We had no idea about my brother day by day.
So like, it sounded silly when we talked about it at the beginning, but we like talked about like captains and stuff. Right. And like, we had just named our captains, and then we had a teammate that was going to die because he was beaten with a baseball bat. We had just like, so you're just forming like that, that trust, team that bond, right? You're spending countless hours together working for a common goal. And then God's like, and life is like, hey,
check this out.
Curveball.
So at that point, the only thing like we knew what to do, like us kids, I don't know about everybody else, but like me personally, like in my head, I did not accept the fact that like Sal was going to die for like, I knew that like the odds were against him. I was not going to accept it until it happened. And then I would deal with it from there. Like, I don't know why I felt that way, but I was like, no. And I don't know when it happened. Like I think it formally happened like once the football season started and Sal was still around, still fighting. I was able to go see him. But it was all about like bring Sal back.
Yeah.
All right. And the whole goal was like get to the end of the season, get to the state championship, and like I don't know, but like I think around that time frame, like everything kind of came together to the point where like, hey, if we get to state, we make it to state, like it will be enough time past that Sal can like come to our locker room and see us. So that was what it was all about. And we had an extremely tough schedule that year.
We were not the best team either.
No, like we had just went to the state championship in the last year, and we lost to an incredible team, like an incredible Cass Tech team in Detroit, like wonderful team. All right.
Very good team.
Yeah. And
a very good marching band.
And we had some very strong seniors, some that, had Division I scholarships, right? Cass Tech had like 13. That's neither here nor
They're
there.
so good.
But
And their marching band, so good.
yeah. Yeah, we like came into the new season, like we had talent, but not as much. And like, then this happens and it's like, we got to bring this together. And we had a tough schedule. We went 5-4. We weren't supposed to make the fucking playoffs, Chris.
No.
And like, we made it. Do you want to know why we made it? Because of strength of schedule. You have to win 6 games in Michigan to like make it to the playoffs, to qualify for the playoffs. Because of the fact that our schedule was so tough, mathematically, we made the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we do that run. We have a tough season with a tough schedule, and then we blow through some people in the playoffs here, and then we finally bring Sal back. So that was amazing for me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
You come into the locker room. Oh, Jesus, Ken. This is unprofessional.
Hey, you're really not a good look for my brand, buddy.
Not good. Did Tori make it to the locker room?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He came with your uncle.
Came with our uncle. Yeah. He was very excited to see you boys.
That was everything to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
honestly, like we came up short, and I am never one to be like a consolation prize type of fella, but like my everything, my goal that entire season was bring Sal back, and we did it. So that was one. December 3rd, 2012, we lost another one of our
And
brothers.
it was only a couple weeks after the state championship.
Yeah, 1 week after the state championship, David Wodzinski. Amazing brother, amazing work ethic, amazing friend, purest heart, pure as can be. I knew him a little bit before he came to Catholic Central, and I was actually one of the people that was instructed to call him to convince him to come to our school. And then it ultimately ended up working out where we lived close enough together, and I was the guy that drove him around all the time. And his mother used to give us money because she thought like I was, she was putting me out by like having me do that. But like we were best buds, and we blew all that money on Jimmy John's. That was supposed to go in my tank. We had a lot of food.
Before David, Brandon was the loser at school, and David like shot his street cred super.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, completely. But, okay, continue.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, 1 week after our state championship football game, he was a sophomore that got called up on varsity. He had 15 tackles in the state championship. And I know you're not a football guy, but that's amazing.
Yeah. He would have gone to big things.
I didn't find out about it until after he passed away, but like Big Ten schools were like considering talking to him and like, starting the process of like, hey, we would be interested in like having you be a part of our team someday. That happened. And a week after he passed away in his sleep, I was supposed to pick him up the next morning. And like I talked to him. I remember the last interaction I had with him, he texted me and it was like, hey, can you bring he found this ski jacket that was going to get thrown out, but he really liked it. So he took it and it was his. And he's like, hey, will you bring my ski jacket? And I was like, I think I said something sarcastic that was like, maybe. And he was like, thanks. And I think the last thing I said to him was like, you're welcome, I guess. Just like in a silly tone. And that was the last thing I said to him.
This is your best friend who's just about to die.
I wake up the next morning and he doesn't answer. I would always text him to say like, you ready, bro? And
when did you realize
it? So I went to school that day and I tried to get in touch with him and I felt like something was kind of off. And like I said, he was a sophomore. So I talked to one of his closest friends, Eddie Zipka. And I said, you hear from Dave today? You hear from David today? He said, no. And, after school, we always had our workouts and stuff like that. We were hanging around. I was hanging around in the athletic director's office, Mr. Aaron Babbitts, true legend.
Strongest athletic director in the state of Michigan.
Oh, yeah. And I was instructed by him that the principal of the school, Father Huber, wanted to speak with me, and a couple other people in the chapel at like 6:00, and our parents were coming. So
in trouble.
I had no idea what was happening. Like Aaron Babbitts, God bless him, and I hated him for it at the time, and he knew that it wasn't a real hate, but it was because of the pain that it caused. I was making jokes about what Father wanted to do with us in the chapel and stuff like
Classic,
that. And he
bro.
held
Oh,
it.
no.
He knew that David was dead.
Oh,
And he held it together, and he just let me say it. And it wasn't even bad. I love Father Hubert, but like
Strange.
boys will be boys and they'll make jokes. Like,
Boys will be-
yeah.
and then I just remember sitting in that chapel, and the entire, like all of the administrators were there, and like my father was there with me. And he said, like, David went to bed last night and he didn't wake up. And for me, like when I got into that chapel and I saw, like, I knew what happened. I knew what happened before he said it. I just didn't
Want to believe it?
Yeah. So that happened. I don't know who it was to this day, but like somebody ran out of the room hysterical, and it was like the worst sound I had ever heard in my entire life. The worst screech I'd ever heard in my entire life. And I just like, I remember sitting there motionless, no tears, no crying. And then I finally like, I remember finally, like, for some reason I didn't accept affection from my father, and my father understood it, and he didn't touch me. And like, I wasn't like told this until later, but like, I guess that like, I was the only person that wasn't like physically consoled by their parent. And someone like brought that up to me as a bad thing, but like in retrospect, like my dad just knew that I needed that space at that time. And I remember finally running out of the chapel just to like,
Make sure you talk in your microphone.
Thanks.
You remember running
I
out?
I remember running out of the chapel as I speak into my microphone, and like Aaron came out to, try to comfort me, and I just looked at him and I was like, you fucking knew. You fucking knew. And then, I talked with, I finally like broke down, and like my father hugged me, Aaron hugged me.
Sounds beautiful. I mean, in any moment that you have those situations that come up,
I'm good.
I can keep going.
We made him cry. We made him cry. Yes, we did it, Chris.
just having somebody hug you and hold you. Because I get that, Brandon. I get that. I've been always strong in my life, and like, okay, I'm going to be the big one. I'm going to be the one that's going to be figuring things out. And sometimes you just have to let go. I mean, I still deal with that. My wife will laugh at me because when I drink, I will get teary. She's like, why you get sad? And I'm like, because I hold a lot of my pain. I hold a lot of my anger inside, and I process it. When I'm sober, I can process. I can put it in a box. I can figure it out. But when I drink and I sit there and I think about things, and I do that on purpose because I know I need to deal with those issues. So I'll sit and I'll listen to a playlist and like get sad and like, okay, why am I feeling sad? Where is this coming from? Okay, I feel like I've been abandoned. Okay, what do I need to process out of that to get out of the feeling of abandon? And just feeling those tears and feeling that pain, it's crazy because I do cry a lot. And like I said, when I was watching, your story, Tanner, and everything, and watching the 5K, and I was just like, tears are streaming down. I'm like, it's because of the love. It's because of the situation. It's because of my own processing of what that meant to me. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, having that family unity and accepting that is so paramount. And sometimes we push people away because we want to be stronger, when in actuality, we should just drop our arms and just be like, fuck, just hold me, hug me.
Cry sometimes. You cry.
It's good.
All right, I'm going to do my job and I'm going to finish.
No, your job is to cry. Just continue to cry. Let me talk
story.
about crying for a little bit. Okay, go.
Oh, fuck off. All right.
Oh,
No, if I was
We
just...
did it, Chris. I just want to say we did it. We made him cry.
Into this, Brandon, if you want to bring it back around, your face, when you were watching my face, not understand his, I gotcha.
Yup. Noted.
I love you. I love you.
Yeah, so I was...
Ken cried too. Just like engineer Ken was crying too.
I was hysterical, and they like strongly advised me against it. But my father knew his son. and he wasn't going to tell me no. It wasn't him that told me no. I remember Mr. Lewis, our assistant principal, was like begging me not to leave. And I was like, I need to go see Tanner. And I needed to leave because no one else knew, and I knew it was going to go public, and I needed Tanner to know before everybody else did, and I needed Tanner to know because I needed Tanner.
Wow.
So I left. I remember I'm heading out towards Milford from Wixom. I'm getting onto the 96. I'm getting on 96, trying to head west. And as I'm getting onto the ramp, Dan Anderson, he's now the head football coach of Catholic Central.
Go Rocks.
He called me, and he was able to calm me down a little bit, and he was checking in on me, making sure I was okay. And I told him what I was doing, and he advised me to be cautious. But I remember you and I think it was a McDonald's parking lot right off of that Milford exit.
Well. I remember getting the call.
And you get the call from me, and I was like, I need to see you now.
Yeah, and you didn't tell me over the call, did you?
No. Because you came out, I remember you pulled up and you came into my car. I was driving that shitty Ford Taurus that had, it was a red car with a blue bumper.
It's great.
Because I rear-ended somebody because I was texting like an ass.
Jesus, are you going to? He doesn't do it
that
anymore.
was my dad's tough lesson. That was my dad's tough lesson. He's like, you're going to go to the junkyard and find a bumper that works for a price that works.
Yes.
But yeah, you jump into the car and I told you.
Yeah.
And that right there. So like that moment of vulnerability, that time frame was like the last piece of vulnerability I really like gave to most people for a long time, because the way that I took on this responsibility almost. I wouldn't say it was like self-proclaimed, but I think it was like natural for people to like look to me simply because he and I were so close, and I was a senior and I was a leader of the school.
You're an actual captain.
So that was really like the only like true time I let my guard down, and then it was like I had a fucking job to do.
Yeah.
And I remember there were like, how many people were at my house that night?
There's a lot. We were all just hanging out.
Like none of us. We're all just kids and we don't know what to do, and we just lost our friend.
Suddenly. There's no explanation again. Just one night.
And like the brightest and like the best of it. The best of them.
Best of us. He was a great kid. And he was going to go on and do great things. That's the hard part. You like the
I would have traded.
Opportunity.
I would have traded that for him. Looking back on it, I don't think I've had that thought before, but like, I think I would have taken his place just to give him that chance.
Go fuck yourself, Brandon.
I really would have, man.
No,
like,
don't. Do you think David wants you saying that right now?
No, I don't. I'm not saying it for him. I'm not saying it for him.
Yeah, and you're not. You're not saying it for him. You're saying it for yourself. But you don't. You're not saying that. Don't say that, because like David wants you to live. David wants you to live your life because you have a great opportunity. You're producing podcasts, man. That's awesome. That's so cool. It sounds facetious, but it actually is really cool. But it's also a joke too. No, Brandon, I know that feeling. I know the feeling of like, I wish it should have been me. Like I live that.
I haven't
every
had
day.
that thought in years, to be honest with you. Like it just, like honestly, just talking about it in detail for the first time in a long time
and crying about it. No, I love the tears. Keep them coming. If you like, just touching on that with mine, I look at my brother every day. My twin brother. We were supposed to record this podcast last week. We couldn't because my brother had a seizure. He has a seizure about once a month. This time he had it twice a month. This time it was a little worse. That's something every time he has a seizure, I think how much I would trade to be in his place so he doesn't have to go through this every time. He doesn't have to have these seizures. But I know that he doesn't want that either. And also, to be honest, like he knows that I probably wouldn't be strong enough to handle these seizures. He's the one. He's strong. He's always been stronger than me. He's always been a better sports baller. And you know what? He couldn't talk on this podcast as well as he couldn't talk on this podcast as well as me. So like, what does it matter? I'm talking on pretty well. But no, they do not want us to switch positions. But you know what? We cannot help but think that, because like, yeah, we think it would be better if Brandon was dead, I wouldn't have to deal with him every day. But I do, and I'm very happy for it. And you know what? I'd have to deal with David every day too. And you know, he's a great person, but he's get on our nerves just as much as you do. But no, my dad is like how much I would give to have him back, but also know that wouldn't fix everything. And that, and like my life, and like how much I would give to like not have this entire thing happen to my family is like, I don't know where I would be in my life if it didn't happen to me. So like, there's no point in wishing that it all gone, wishing it was a different version. But you know what? It's human. Of course, we're going to.
Do you want to know why it's hard for me?
Why is it
I mean,
hard
and
for
you work in film, so
no,
I think you'll
don't.
understand.
Let's keep talking, Chris. Okay, yeah, I know.
So for me, like I know that I said what I said.
I'm glad you said it.
And I know that he wouldn't want
I'm glad you said
me
it.
to feel that way. But picture this. What if you could like,
Picture this.
what if you could look
Just
at a
pitching me a
film
movie right
or
now.
see something from a bird's eye view and just watch it happen, like that what if scenario? And that's something like we're talking about, like I'll be real, like this isn't like I'm not some success story that's perfect and has completely overcome this. Like
he's a podcast producer. Like what the hell?
such a tool.
No, keep going.
But now you made me lose my train of thought.
No, it's not. It's like look at the.
It would be
success
so
story.
nice to like be able to like nobody knew how he was going to turn out, but that kid loved Notre Dame
Yeah.
and Notre Dame was looking at him. And that would just be the start of his impact. And it would be a continuation of his Catholic upbringing. And I think that boy of all fucking people just needed structure and people that loved him and he would thrive.
Oh my god!
And that's what happened at CC. And that's why for me, I wanted, like, it would just be sweet to
and imagine
see
if
that movie.
yeah, the what if scenario.
I'll never have it, but like it would be nice to have that.
Imagine
movie.
what if that like he would have gone like how good he played at football. I'm not saying well. I don't like you being grammatically correct. How good he played at football and apply that to the rest of his life. What he could have done. He would have done great things. And we don't get to see that. And that's really fucking shitty. We don't get to see the alternate universe where he's still alive and he's still doing great things that we cannot even imagine right now. But you know what? Every day it means that it's more of our responsibility to do those great things for him and as best as we can. We're not going to do the great things for it. We're not going to do them as great as we can. Honestly, he'd probably be the best podcast producer we've ever seen. But like, you know what? Now you have to be the best podcast producer we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't get down on yourself for feeling that, the what if scenario, because like, yeah.
I don't play that game often. I just played it because like we're here.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad you're playing
it.
it. You need to play that game sometimes.
But yeah, I guess that's
I
that.
play the game all the time. I love what
You got to think about everything we've talked to you guys so much and want to give you guys big hugs right now. And just hearing this is emotional for me because it brings up different things and thoughts that I have. But ultimately, what you guys are saying, and we still haven't even finished, is the fact that ultimately the perspective is what is the most important thing. The perspective of how we see and how we internalize and how we emotionalize the situations that happen. We can either say they're happening for us or to us. And in the same thing, I think everything happens for a reason. I say it most times, 10 times a day. I say everything happens for a reason. I say every day is a new day and everything happens for a reason. And then I finish it off with,
doesn't kill me, makes me stronger. Can I
What
challenge
doesn't
that
kill me
though?
makes me
Like,
Challenge it.
so
Yes.
I had to put that on my arm because in situations where I'm pretty strong, but also when we get vulnerable with ourselves because we could be strong. I mean, I know you're strong, Brandon, and
Not
when
that strong. I bench press
we
more.
allow that gate to open, that's where the healing starts to happen. That's where we really get to grow and see who it is that we're going to become. And I know the fact that from all these situations, you guys are going to be amazing dads. You guys are going to be amazing influencers in the world. You already are. And we just take that and we say, okay, how can we live in somebody else's honor? I had a situation where my former wife, her sister, and I called her my baby sister. I mean, we're still family. We're still friends, even though I say ex-wife. I got a phone call from Tammy, who was my ex-wife, and she said, Tiffany passed away. And I was like, what the fuck? And I get chills. Jesus Christ. I'm going to cry.
You cry.
She was 33 years old. Her 3-year-old son found her dead.
You're good.
And then Tammy found her and they were best friends. And I was sitting there trying to process, and I was Tiffany's coach. And I kept telling her, I'm like, Tiffany, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. She was overweight. She had asthma. She had heart issues. And she was like, no, Chris, I have to take care of Kenneth. That's her son. And I'm like, no, Tiffany, you have to put yourself first. You have to put yourself first. And then all of a sudden I get this call from Tammy saying Tiffany passed away. And I was just like really, honestly, I was just like, what the fuck, God? Really? A 33-year-old mom who's taking care of a kid who's potentially autistic in the prime of her life. She's trying to start this at-home cooking thing, and you strike her down and you let her 3-year-old son find you. I was like, I was so mad and I was so angry. And I was sitting there thinking, and they had me do the eulogy at the church, which I was very honored to do. And I was driving home and I was so emotional. I was so pissed off. And I was like, what could I have said to her? What could I have done? Should I have said, oh, we should do coaching in law? What things could I have done to prevent that? And God's honest truth, I was like, I'm going to go home and drink, and I'm going to just just get trashed. And I'm like, that's how I process things. And I sat there for this moment. It's a very poignant moment in my life. I was on the 91 freeway out here in Corona. I remember it vividly, just approaching the 15. And I looked over at my empty seat, and I looked over there and I'm like, if she was sitting here right now, what would she say? And she would say, Chris, go home and do something productive. Don't go home and crash yourself. Go home and write a poem. Go home and call some friends. Go home and give this situation a deeper perspective, and find a way to use this to help other people, find a way to be a light through this situation, still be in contact with Tammy, still be an influencer in Kenneth's life. And from that situation, Tammy wound up taking on Kenneth and has raised him into a beautiful boy. He is like very autistic, but she's done a phenomenal job going from being a solopreneur and doing all these things to taking on raising her sister's son. She's done a phenomenal job. So from all these different situations, we can choose, to find the light in that, choose to live in the honor of somebody, choose to carry on what it is their legacy was about. And that for me gives it a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose. And that's why I do these things. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Brandon, you pushed back on something.
Oh, you're going to, my tattoo.
By the challenge.
No, it was forgot.
But I will say, Chris, everything you say, I do not challenge anything. I think I agree with everything. Ken just wrote, I love you. And that's for everybody. Thank you, Ken. I love you too. And I love you, Brandon. I love you, Chris. And I love everybody watching this, listening, and tuning in right now. Meaning, you say, I will challenge you on something. Everything happens for a reason. No.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
No.
Like,
I can challenge that.
I don't need a
Let's do this. Let's get in a fight.
Like
Start
for
swearing.
me, I don't know, man.
I will drive to your house right now. I'll kick your ass. No, you would kick my ass. That's true.
Whose ass?
Brandon. I'll kick Brandon's ass easy.
Now I'm old. I have a bad back.
He's asking.
I don't know if I buy the whole reason shit.
Well, I've got something to say about it. So you have something to say? Like,
it's like, why does there have to be a reason? I think sometimes, like, just like people are like, this is the new normal. Like, no, it's just this. It just is.
It is. It is what it is.
So it's like if I didn't think about it so much with David because like I understood that medically there was like something medical that happened. He died in his sleep because of heart's complications, and he was an otherwise extremely healthy kid, and it was an anomaly. Like my father passing away, and if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it.
I would love to talk about it.
If I spent the time like dissecting every single like the reasons and the whys, like because I played that game for a minute, and like sometimes like I just think maybe like you're right, Chris, like everything does happen for a reason, but I also think that we like shouldn't obsess ourselves with it.
No, you find
maybe that's where I take issue with the statement.
Well, think about the reason why we're here right now. When you think about all the different situations, the tragedies and the setbacks and the depression and the thoughts and everything that we've all had, we're all here sharing that and potentially impacting hundreds and thousands of people over the course of this podcast and the course of this video. That's the reason. That's what I choose to find the reason, because otherwise I would go absolutely bonkers trying to diagnose why certain things happen to little kids and why this happens and why that. I just have to sit there and say, okay, the reason from that is because that story is meant to make other people stronger. That story is meant to inspire people. That story is meant to get people off of drugs. That story is just, it's just, that's the reason I look at it. Otherwise I would go insane.
I'm going to go in the middle of you guys because like I'm very diplomatic and that's what I do. And I'm going to say that like, yeah, some things happen for a reason. Some things don't happen for a reason, but like maybe everything happens for a reason. Maybe nothing happens for a reason, but like the reason, there's no reason, like whatever you want to do that. Our job as individuals is whatever that something was, we have to find the reason. We have to make the reason, especially when there is no reason, when we can't find the reason. When my dad was murdered, there was no reason for it.
When you say like make reason, is it just like rationalize it in your head?
No,
or is it beyond that?
It's beyond that. It's like I have to find the good. And like my dad was murdered so that I could help people who have also
Exactly.
had people die. And that's my reason why my dad died, which is not a reason it was not the reason when it all happened, but like I've had to spend 8 years finding that reason. And it's going to be the rest of my life is finding that reason. And sometimes that reason isn't good enough. Sometimes I'm still going to be really sad and cry myself to sleep. I cried myself to sleep 2 nights ago. It was great. It was very fun. But like in the long run, if I can say that I found enough reason in the reasonless, in the meaningless, then like that's all I can do. And that's what you got to just try. And sometimes you're going to find that reason. Sometimes you can't. Why did David die? I don't know. It's definitely brought me and you closer as friends. Like I did not like you before. I could barely tolerate you, but now it's like, I'm sitting in a room with you. I'm talking to you for an hour and 27 minutes. And like, I don't hate you that much. Maybe that's the reason why David died. And that's really shitty because that means like David had to die so that me and Brandon could be a little bit closer. That's shitty. But you know what? Like David would like that. David's
works.
sitting here right now. He's watching. He's listening. He would love to talk. What the things he would say.
Absolutely.
Hey, I didn't need David to die to remain close with you over the years.
I
buddy.
did. I would have kept running.
fuck.
I would have kept running. Yeah, but no.
All right.
But it's so it doesn't matter if there is a reason when things happen. All it matters is like it's up to you to find that reason and if there is no reason, make that reason. And
I guess that's a fair
absolutely.
point.
Absolutely. And just from what we've already shared, the viewers are probably, I'm sure, on the edge of their seats trying to figure out what's going on and how everybody's doing. But there is still another key date in this thing we're talking
On
about.
Brandon's side, there's a few more on my side too. So Brandon, keep going. Or do you want me to take one?
All right, I'll give you one more, but then I'm done.
And cry this time. Seriously, cry.
All right. Well, I don't think that'll happen. I think you got me once.
You said that before, but look at us now.
That's fair. No,
Crack me up.
February 7th, 2018, one day after his 61st birthday, my father killed himself. He hung himself, and that was his second attempt. The first attempt was 2 years before and some change. And it was ironically enough the first time that my girlfriend, now fiance, met my father. And yeah, that one was tough.
What's his name?
My father's name?
Yeah.
It was Ron Malinowski. And I guess before I go too much into detail, it's like those situations were like a little different for me because like after I get gone through what I had gone through, like throughout high school, I just felt like in some like fucked up way that God had prepared me for like that situation. It was like it was literally like a let's go kind of deal. I mean, I was the one that found him, and like the primary focus of mine at the time was like shielding my mother from seeing that. We didn't know if he was alive. I had to give my father a pulse check the first time to figure out if he was alive. And then thank God I got 2 more years with him. They were rough years for him, but we had some good times, and I got 2 more. And I think again, it was like holding true to his character. I think he made that sacrifice for me because he knew I still really needed him.
Wow, that is super, super profound.
That's when I first started thinking about that.
That is super profound, Brandon. And just for the record for everybody, Brandon is my wife's cousin. Is that what the technical thing is?
You're my brother.
Yeah. So I have met your dad. I've spent time with your dad and your mom. I mean, that's why I got emotional because I thought back to I think the last time we went out, we went and had drinks and it was just a great time. I used to love talking to your dad. We used to talk about sales. And so I know your dad. So I know, some of the pain that he was going through and so those situations. So yeah, I just wanted to let the viewers know, like, there's a close tie in here because, I knew your father and I know your mother and I know your brother. I've been blessed to know you guys for a long time and do call you my brother. And I do truly mean that because I watched you grow up, Brandon. And we've said this off camera. I mean, I met you when you were like 15. Was it 15?
I think it was a little younger than that.
13. I mean, I might have been 13. And I met you and I was just like, it was so weird because I was just captivated by, you had this charm, you had this confidence, you had this, this sparkle in your eye. Like, and I kept telling people, I'm like, that guy's going to do something. And at the time I thought I was going to be playing guitar, but obviously that didn't happen. But you do have guitars up on the wall. I think you're trying to copy me a little bit. So, and you have LED lights on. But to know that relationship, and to what you just said was so profound. Can you say that again? Because I just want the listeners to really absorb what you just said.
Which part?
The part about him doing that
Staying around.
Was because you needed him that bad, and it was kind of like a way, like, hey, I need you to be strong, and this is going to be your life.
To be honest with you, I don't even know. Knowing my father, I feel very strongly that was a conscious thought of his. I can't definitively tell you that it was, but I know the character of the man that I'm speaking to at this time. And I don't think it was just me. I think my mom needed him. I think they needed each other. I think that, I mean, my brother is having a baby soon. Like, he sure as hell could use him. He sure as hell could use dad right now. I'm looking to purchase a home right now, and
I know all the details.
I don't have a ton of cash, right? And I'm trying to figure it out. It sure would be.
Some? I got some.
It sure would be nice to have my dad to talk to, because you always have people that help you, but with your father, and I know that this is tough for you because, like, you didn't grow up with that experience, but this is what I did. I was blessed with this, right? And, like, we butted heads, but, like, that guy was always in my corner. He used to always say, "Who's your biggest fan?" Even when we would get mad at each other, and I'd say, like, under my breath, like, "Fuck, like, you, dad." But, like, Chris, you have a pool, right? Like, you ever been in the pool, like, or, you know, accidentally go in the pool with your shirt on and it gets super soaked? You get pushed into a pool ever in your life and it's super soaked?
Oh,
And then you try to
sometimes.
get that shirt dry and you wring it out and you keep on twisting, you keep on twisting, you keep on twisting, and there's still like a couple more drops.
Yeah.
I think my dad was that wet shirt, and he let me wring out all of the goodness that he had, all of the wisdom, all of the patience. And, like, I'm still learning, but, like, I think that he let me do that for him. Like, he gave me that
wet shirt.
He gave me that wet shirt, you know? And it's a weird
I love
example.
it. Who pushed him in
but
the
it-
water, though? That's the question. But that's for another day.
I think I don't know. I think he jumped into the water
Yeah.
because he didn't have all the answers, but he jumped into the water because, like, he realized that
You needed a
And
wet shirt.
Yeah, he realized that, like, he didn't have a dad that was there for him. He had a dad that told him to go push a broom at GM and had 2 jobs and said, like, "I don't have time for this shit. Go do something else." There was no, like, "Dad, I need you." There was no, like, there wasn't that. It was
I'll say,
carrot or stick, and it was nothing in between, and it was, like, seldom a carrot because there wasn't a carrot to give.
Mr. Malinowski, like, to take it all back, circle all the way back to sideline captains and those unity dinners I talked about. When the night before games, we would all eat dinner together, and me and Peter would tell the other captains why they suck. Those dinners, the parent that everyone remembers being the most supportive and the most excited for us, the most eager, was Mr. Malinowski. And every night, and sometimes we'd have a bad practice, sometimes we'd have a bad week, sometimes we'd be nervous for the game before. At least not me, because I didn't have to play, so I don't worry about anything. But Mr. Malinowski was always the dad who was just down to, like, make sure we were ready for the game tomorrow and ready just for life. It came down, it's like, because it's like, he wasn't teaching us about, like, how to be good football players, how to be good high schoolers. He was teaching us how to be good people, good men. And that's Mr. Malinowski in a wet shirt. It's like, he had that wet shirt and he was giving us all that wet shirt. And that's a lot of wetness to wring out of a wet shirt. But he kept jumping in that pool, and because he was doing it for us.
And I think, like, he didn't always have it, so he made it.
Yeah.
Or if he didn't have the ability to make it, he created it for me. And what I mean by that is, like, he wasn't able to play sports. He got me involved in every sport. Anytime there was one sport I wanted to play that he told me no to, and that was hockey because it was too expensive. But, like, it was like, okay, well, like, you can play hockey or you can play soccer and baseball, and I chose the latter. So, like, he gave me everything, you know? And I mean, that was both of my parents. So, like, he can't take all the credit, but, like, men have a unique responsibility when it comes to raising men.
So,
And
Mrs. Malinowski, also a beautiful person.
And I don't think it's as simple as, like, showing up and giving a shit. I think oftentimes in life you can get by on that. And that's, like, the recipe. Show up and give a shit, and, like, you'll be just fine. I think it, like, took an extra level of, like, patience and nurturing, and, like, you're going to have to deal with that someday, Chris. And, like, I'll tell you, I wasn't easy to raise.
Terrible.
So like, be ready for that. But like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're a dad or if you have a dad. If you are a dad, like, give a shit, be patient. Like, we might come around and do good things. If you have a dad and he's worth a squad of piss, let him know it, because I can't do that anymore. And that's about as much as I'll preach today.
Oh, preach every day. We're tired of your fucking gospel.
Do you
So
even
I- so
like
I
me?
know-
No, I said that already.
Like, you're really kind to me
No,
off
I
air.
love it, Brandon. Brandon,
I know, Brandon, you want kids. Tanner, do you want kids?
I am so excited for kids. If anything, I'm more excited for grandkids, because that means that your kids have lived a good enough life to have the kids of their own. Plus, you don't have to worry about all the trouble of being the parent. So you get to just give them the candy and the macaroni and cheese and the peanut butter and jelly. So I'm very excited
Uh-huh.
to have the kids and the
Amen.
grandkids. But no, Brandon, you can. Ron's watching you. Ron's sitting with us too. He's sitting right next to Dave. He's
Mhm.
sitting next to Bob. He's sitting next to Jake. He's sitting next to all of them. And
I believe that.
I think because I also am dealing with the fact that like I don't have my dad anymore, and that's and for a long time I kind of just like accepted like, yeah, but if I'm going to think about that, that's just going to get me down, and it's going to be like, and there's no reason getting down on myself for something I can't change right now. But now more than ever, I realize like I have to let myself feel how shitty it is that I don't get to tell my dad like how good I'm doing and how well I'm doing, and sometimes I just have to like force myself. If anything, I've had more conversations with my dad in these last few months than I have in 8 years,
Yeah.
because like it's realizing like whether he's here or not, he's with me. He's with me,
I believe
and I see him sitting next to me.
Hear him.
Hear him?
I hear him,
Yeah,
and
I
like,
hear my dad too.
it's not.
I don't see him.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I hear him. Like,
Yeah.
like something.
In
will,
which ways?
Something will happen, and like something will like fuck up my day, and I'll be like, I'm like a Timex watch. I take a licking and I keep on ticking. And then like,
Is that what
like
Dad
that
would
was something
say?
he used to say.
Yes.
Or like when somebody like you have a good idea and somebody doesn't want it, like I'll just be like, well, you know what they say, you can lead a horse to water. And like those weren't things that he created, but those were things that he said.
Yes.
Or when he woke me up in the morning, he said like he woke me up in the morning and he was like every morning without fail. And like, yeah, I didn't have an alarm clock. I had a dad. Top of the morning to ya. It's a great day. Sun's shining. Birds are chirping. Get up.
Yes.
That was my father. That was the guy that
Mhm.
suffered from depression and like disillusion disorder, if that's the right term. I'm not quite sure. I think it is.
Yeah.
But that was my dad. He was a fighter.
And you still hear that now?
Oh, I still hear it.
Yes. That's
I still hear random shit like, you know, if like I want something and I'm not necessarily willing to like, you know, do what I have to do to get it. Like I can hear him say, no ticky, no washi.
oh my God.
Like just like stupid bullshit like that sticks
So
with
me,
you.
my dad never had a lot of sayings. Suck it up, maybe. And my brother says that enough times. But
Do you ever do this? Sometimes I'll like make decisions specifically because I know my dad would be like, don't do
Don't do
that.
that.
Absolutely don't do that. And then he would like freak out thinking that like you're gonna fall on your face and end up back in my basement or something like that. Do you ever do things like
No,
I
'cause
did
I
that?
was a good kid.
I did that
I
with
was a good kid.
I did that with my truck. I got a nice new truck. Great deal. Check out Westbourne Chrysler in
Nice.
Dearborn, Michael Pupor. I got that nice truck. I quit my comfortable job that was gonna like guarantee me like a life in the upper middle class if I just like stuck with the normal trajectory. And it was like very transparent, the trajectory. But like I'm doing those things because like
Tell you opposite.
he didn't necessarily have the courage to do certain things, but he gave me the courage to be like, you can do anything,
Yes.
you can
Yes.
fuck up, but like you're Brandon. Like that's what he put in me. He's like, you're Brandon,
Yes.
so like you will get up
Yes.
and you will
Yes.
go move forward.
He was scared to take the risks because he needed to make a safe enough place for you to be the one to take the risks. That's where
Yes.
he's living every day. You're living through him every day.
Massive.
Those risks that if he had take those risks, maybe he would have been great. But like that's putting risk in his son.
I'm trying to buy a house during the COVID pandemic.
You're insane. But you know what? I said like I have a couple dollars in my wallet. I'll help you if you need any help. I got like
Save your money.
$15. But that's it. He did. Yeah, maybe he wasn't the one who took those risks, and maybe he would still tell you don't take those risks. But he worked hard enough in his life so that you can be taking those risks, and he taught you enough in while he was with you to take those risks smartly and take them in the best way possible. And that's you're with you.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the fact that like the reason I can do those things in the first place, it's because of the foundation, right?
Yeah, he supports you.
So those are the things I hold on to, Chris. Like I don't have a dad anymore, but like I have
Me neither.
that.
That's funny.
I have that.
Yeah.
And that like to me, I'll go up against anything. I don't want the challenge, but like if it comes, like, all right, I'll fuck with you. Let's go.
Put the gloves on.
And that's
Outside,
what it's taught
right now,
me.
you.
That's what it's taught me. Like, honestly, like, if you're listening, God, please just don't hand me another tragedy in the near future. Like, I'll deal with it. I don't want to.
No.
Please don't. But, like, that's what it gave
God
me.
gives a fuck about you, man? Don't.
I think so.
Don't hold your breath for
That's the
it.
title of a song.
Yeah. No, it's, I get, because I'm, every day I worry, like, is this the day that I'm going to lose my brother, like, from one of these seizures? And every day I think, like, fuck, I'm going to have to go through, sorry, Mom. I'm going to have to go through another tragedy one day. And, like, and tragedies are just going to keep happening, big or small. They're going to be just as shitty. But we just got to be ready for it. And
do you think that's, like, a good thing or a bad thing that, like, you and I, like, can look at each other confidently and, like, at this time, like, we can say, like, sure, I've been surprised before, but at this time, like, you can say, I'm built for it.
I'm built for it. For tough, man.
I'm built for it.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know. Like, great power comes great responsibility. Great tragedy comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, yeah, we're built for the tragedy now, and we're in the middle of a giant tragedy, like a global tragedy right now. And we might not be feeling it ourselves as individuals. If anything, I'm feeling pretty better than I have in a while. So thank you, Corona. No, I take it back. That's very insensitive. But we're gonna keep going through tragedies, and it sucks that I actually think about that is like it sucks that I have to be the stronger one in every situation because of everything that happened, and I have to give myself the chance to feel how much that sucks and how shitty that is.
Yeah, but what I've asked myself sometimes is like, is anybody expecting that from us but ourselves?
Exactly. I was just thinking that very same thing.
Ryan's
who's making that expectation? You're placing that on yourself to be the hero when, you know, in some situations you need to be the person that needs to be consoled. You need to be the person that has the opportunity to let somebody else be the bigger person, the stronger person, because maybe that's what they need in their particular life and their journey right now. I mean, everything you guys have shared has just been so fucking massive. Sorry, Mom. And the depths of your souls, the depths of who you have become as men. I mean, geez, I'm 51, so I've got a lot of years on you. So you guys know if you ever need advice, or you know, I'm not gonna be a father figure, but that's for sure I'll be a big brother. If you guys need anything, but just the massive growth in what you have shared in the last hour and 45 minutes, the amount of intelligence and heart that you guys have shared here today is really astonishing. I mean, it's really, given everything you guys have been through, look at the relationship you guys have formed, look at us doing this right now and the impact that we're going to have in people. I know there's going to be massive impact on this. You know, I just want to say how proud I am of you guys and what an honor it is to be in your presence and to know, I mean, for Brandon, at least I obviously know your mom. I knew your father, I know your brother. So, I mean, it's obviously personal, but seeing what you're accomplishing and seeing what you guys have done with the situations that have been laid before you, there's people that are in the corner right now crying because Netflix canceled a fucking show. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And you guys have experienced this. So I think what you were saying before is like, you know, is there going to be more tragedy? Of course there is. I mean, that's the thing that makes me stronger, that keeps me going, is the fact that I need to continue investing in myself. I need to continue doing these things because it is making me stronger. And God forbid, you know, something happens, you know, I look at it as a situation as I will survive. I'm a thriver. I'm a survivor. Whatever it is going to bring, you know, I mean, you get older, you start having thoughts about health, you know, all sorts of different things. You have a son now and it's like, okay, what's going to happen? I can't predict what's going to happen. And we started the show off with that. Like, what can you control? And what you can control is your reaction or your response.
Thank you.
That you can sit there and take a step back. Take a step back, whether it's for a day, for a month, or 6 months, or 8 months, or 8 years. Take a step back and sit there and look at the situation from a less emotional side, I guess, and you know, putting the logical side on it in a way, and giving it a deeper meaning and giving it a passion and a purpose to continue on. You guys are going to be phenomenal dads. I mean, phenomenal. I didn't have a dad, and I think I'm a pretty good dad.
I think
but you guys are going to be massive. in what it is that you're going to create with your children and the impact that they're going to have in their life. What are some final thoughts? Because I know I've kept you guys here forever, and I'm so grateful for everything. I mean, it's been an emotional time. I knew it was going to be an emotional time. I thank you guys for bearing your soul. But what are some like encapsulated thoughts for you on this discussion that we can leave the viewer with, that they can walk away with and go, okay, wow, I've been through some shit, but man, I'm going to shovel that shit out of my corner, and now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this in their honor. What are some things that you could send off individually that can kind of encapsulate everything that you're about and help the viewer?
I want to go first because I want you to bring it home for us. All right. It would only feel that right this way because you've been so nice to me on our show today.
So nice. Brandon, I love you. You know I love you. Sometimes.
What I would encourage people, because you talked about reacting, right? And like, I think a knee-jerk reaction, for lack of a better term, to someone saying like, just react better to something is like, well, you don't know how I feel, right? That's an easy response. So I guess my thought is this. When people say that, it's not, no, at least if it's coming from someone like myself, like I'm not telling you how to feel. I'll never tell anybody like necessarily like, or I'll never try to tell anybody how to feel. But what I will say is that you have always have the choice on how to respond to those feelings. So like feel like shit. And like, going back to, you talked about when your friend passed away, like, and you drank, like, we did too. But we gave like, and we did it at Sam's and like, but we had the 24-hour rule, and that's something you learn in football too. Like, don't get too high, don't get too down. You can do whatever you want based on the results of something for 24 hours. And then you got to get back to it and go to work. So I guess my thing is I would just encourage people to understand that, accept the feelings that you're having, because if you're having those feelings, they're real. You should lean into it. But you always have the choice on how you respond to those feelings. So I'll love you for however you feel, and I'll love you for however you react, but I think you'll feel better if you challenge yourself to respond to those adversities that we face in a conquering mindset. Like, I may not have everything that I need right now to get through this, but like, I'll get there or I'll find it.
I'll try.
Yeah. So that's my final thoughts.
Wow, thank you, Brandon. That's powerful. I want to write that down and quote it out. Thank you for
all
that.
All up in here. Transcript, because their technology doesn't work over here.
Shut up! It does.
It does. He's a very good podcast producer. Please go to Wave Media and get your podcast produced by. Sorry, Chris. What were you saying?
Now it's your turn.
My turn. One, I did not get to talk about a lot of people, but I do want to give a special shout out to Jake Scanlon, another date, November 11th, who also died suddenly in his sleep while I was in college, and who also taught me much more about life than anybody else, other than like all the other people that have died in my life. Great guy, great family, good people. Jake, love you. I'm glad you're sitting here with us, with David, with Dad, with Ron, with everybody. Yeah, I'm not good with like being concise. A lot of people say I overcomplicate everything, which I like to do. But so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, but it's not going to work. I think I'm just going to circle back to what I said at the beginning of all of this. Is in the middle of everything going on right now, like we're all going through really hard spots, and this is not an easy time for anybody. If anything, it's uncertain. The future is uncertain. Nobody knows what the other side of all this pandemic, this quarantine is going to look like. But we all know it's going to look a little worse off than it was before. But like we're a society. We're all humans, and humans adapt, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to make the best of it. But we can't worry about that, because going back to the beginning is we can't worry about the future. All we can worry about is the right now, right here. And it's just about being present, and be present with however you feel. Again, going off of what Brandon said, is like we cannot control our situation. We cannot control others. We can't control anything except how we feel about our current situation right now, right here. And
no, we can't control how we feel, but we can control how we react to it.
We can control how we react to it. And Brandon, it's a very good point. I'm glad that you're my friend.
Whoa, there it
Look
is.
at that.
It
Breakthrough.
It took 2 hours.
2 hours. No, it's only hour 51. But yeah, we can only control how we feel and how we react to whatever the current situation is. And the current situation is very not ideal. But it's more than ever important. It's important now more than ever to be present in the current situation, to feel and to be okay with how shitty it feels. I'm not even going to apologize to mom for that one, because this is really fucking shitty right now. And but there's going to be another side. We're going to get through this, and all we can do right now is just be present, just exist, just be here, and just be comfortable. Whether you're and life is just a wave. You're going to be either on the highs or you're going to be the lows. And the tricky part is just riding the balance and just surfing right in the middle there. And I'm not a good surfer, and Brandon's a good surfer. He got stung by a stingray. It's a terrible surfer, but he's probably better. He's better than me. But life is a wave, media. And it's going to be and there's going to be highs that we're riding, and eventually those highs are going to go crash down into the lows again. Here, I'll do it on the video, lows. And it's the challenge is going to be just finding the center and being careful on that surfboard and just riding through it and being okay with wherever we are. Like a couple nights ago, I was crying myself to sleep because you know what? Sometimes you have to cry yourself to sleep. But like I cried myself to sleep knowing that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and tomorrow's a new day and I'm going to feel better. And maybe I don't feel better. Maybe I still feel shitty. But like eventually I'm going to feel better. And then once I feel better, eventually I'm going to feel worse. And then eventually I'm going to feel better and eventually worse and better. Sometimes it'll go better. And then it's going to go worse. But like all I can do right now is just be here. Just be present. Just be here. Just be here. Just be here. Just be here.
Have you seen A Dog's Purpose?
No.
A Dog's Purpose. So yeah, I know.
Oh, I will cry. I've avoided that movie.
So basically,
purpose.
like A Dog's Purpose.
Purpose.
I'm not gonna like tell you anything about the movie, but the dog's entire movie, like the entire movie, is basically this dog trying to figure out the meaning of life. And
I'll tell you.
he finally figures.
Is that the one with Dennis Quaid?
That's correct. So at the end of the movie, the dog finally figures out that the meaning of life is to be here now.
Told you.
Yep.
You have to watch a whole movie.
Wait a minute. Mic drop.
Just
Mic
be here.
drop.
And I'd say, especially right now, it's more difficult than ever to just be here because we have distractions everywhere. The news, our phones, other people, sickness, trying to get the best score on Club Penguin. And it's just like so many things to distract us from just being with ourselves. And if anything, it's even more difficult just to be with ourselves because nobody really likes themselves really down. But it's a journey to liking yourself and loving yourself eventually. And I'm on that journey. And I'm not all the way there yet, but like I'm enjoying the journey. And it's just about taking away all of the distractions of life and just being here with yourself so that you can love yourself. And that's a very difficult journey. That's a very, very hard thing to do. And you're not always going to love yourself. You're going to get down on yourself, but you're stuck with yourself for whenever you die. So you might as well learn to live with them or her or them. And so just be here. Just be here. Just be here.
Wow. Powerful. Wow, I could keep talking to you guys for another 6 hours, but I personally have to go pee. I imagine 10.
I have to go pee too.
I think Brandon already went.
I did at the hour mark.
Yeah.
These damn White Claws.
Jeez Louise.
Wow. You know what? I love the conversation. I love hanging out with you guys. I can't wait until we can do it in person. I would love to do it. Speaking of passing away, we know that somebody in our family, Uncle Ken, recently passed away. And we made the decision due to COVID and everything else that I'm not going to come out there to the funeral. So I'm not going to get a chance to see you this time. But, soon in our travels, we'll hook up and we'll cross paths. I know, Tanner, you live out here in LA. So anytime when you're out here, hit me up, man. We'll go have a few drinks and chop it up. And if you guys ever need anything, you guys need some advice, you need somebody to talk to, vent to, whatever it might be. My heart, my door is always open. My phone's always open for you guys. I absolutely love you guys to death. And really thank you for being so transparent, so authentic, so vulnerable. When so many people are trying to put on a mask, they're trying to be this, they're trying to be that, they're trying to be all this other crap. And I just want to personally thank you guys so much. I'm going to put you guys in the back room for a second. Don't go anywhere. Just so I can close out the show a little bit without hopefully tearing up. But
That's
I want to say I
correct.
love you guys and I thank you guys. Hang
Love you,
around,
brother.
and you guys can see this. Wow. For the first time in my life, I need a minute to wrap up a show because very emotional, very emotional for me, dealing with the things that I've dealt with in my life, and just so proud of what the human spirit is capable of. You know, if you're watching this and you've watched this until this point, we've obviously captivated your heart. We've obviously kept your mind intrigued and your heart and your soul as a part of this conversation, this amazing conversation that was totally authentic. It was totally just from the heart, designed, you know, to take our pain, take the situations that we've been faced with, especially these two gentlemen, and make a determination that we're not going to be a victim of that situation, that we're going to live in people's honors, that we're going to do our best and bust our ass to get out of whatever it is that's not serving us. So many of people are out there and they're victimizing themselves. They're sabotaging themselves. I just did a coaching call yesterday and I told the lady, I said, why are you punishing yourself? And just that simple statement, she's like, and I heard her crying. And I said, why are you punishing yourself? I don't know. And I said, well, are you doing things you don't want to do? And she says, yeah. And I said, in the tone of Bob Newhart, stop it. If you're hanging around people you don't like, stop it. If you're not going where you want to go, stop it. Is there going to be fear? Is there going to be uncertainty? Is there going to be unpredictability? Yes, but that is why we are alive. We are here having this human existence to have these emotions, to have these experiences, to grow our soul, to move us forward in life. You know, whether that's going to be without somebody that was previous in our life or not. But like these guys said, and I've said it, you guys know it, all my Facebook posts, everything says #moments. Because in my last 2 years of my journey, going through hell, going through depression again, and fighting all sorts of different things, having my identity ripped apart from me from losing my job, all these different aspects, becoming a dad, I mean, you name it, you name it, you name it. The one thing we have is the moment. And I think that's why they call it the present, you know, because it is a present. And so many of us tend to take for granted the present. Like people are talking about how good it is to go out and have a meal in public. You know, the things that we take for granted. I talk to people all the time and they say, you know what, life sucks and da-da-da-da-da-da and everything's shit and the news and da-da-da. I'm like, well, number one, you're focusing in the wrong area because, by the way, did you happen to go into a room in your house today and turn a faucet and have hot streaming water come out of the fucking wall and you had a hot shower? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, isn't that pretty cool? Isn't that really awesome? Isn't it great that you're able to turn your phone on and get news and have conversations with people? Yeah. Isn't it great to get in and turn a key and actually drive anywhere you want to go? Yeah. I'm like, life is pretty fucking cool. Quit focusing on the shit that you can't control. Start focusing on the moment. Start making yourself, improving yourself and growing yourself and listening to your heart, not listening to all the other outside influences who are actually trying to drag you down, who are trying to hold you back because of their own scarcity, their own mindset. These two guys have taken the situations that have happened in their life that otherwise would cripple most people because they're just like, oh my God. And they've taken it and look what they're doing with their lives. They're continuing on. They're making impacts in other places. They're sharing their stories here. So I just invite you guys, and I just want to thank you guys for watching this to this end. Just believe in yourself. Have faith. Continue to focus on growth. Don't focus on the things that you can't control. Don't spend more time watching the news than you do watching a YouTube video that can grow your mindset. Start making wise investments, and the results that are going to happen out of that are going to take you to the places that you want to go. But if you continue doing what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. And just from me to you guys, I love you guys. Thank you, Kick-Ass Nation. Thank you, Misfits for Life. Thank you for watching this extended major impactful show here with us, the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch and the guests, Brandon and Tanner. Thank you guys all. I hope you have an awesome night and we want to hear from you. So send us an email, christopher@christopherrausch.com, or hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on social media. Let me know how this impacted you because we want to know, we want to continue the conversation, and whatever we can do to support you in your situation, of course, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. All right. I love you guys. Peace. See you next time. Bam, bam. Can't hear myself. What's up? Hey, all right, guys. So that is it. Thank you so much. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning, but I love you guys all. The words have already been said. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for sharing this, for hanging in and sharing your hearts and sharing your souls, supporting the Cipriano family, supporting Brandon, supporting this show and what we mean to bringing you guys, you know, the real deal in forms of inspiration, motivation, education, things of that nature. So much love to you guys all. And please share this broadcast out. Please, again, consider what you can for the Cipriano Fund to help Salvatore's medical expenses. That would be huge. Please tell me about that so I can give you a gift in return. Much love. Take care of each other, and let's be a part of the solution, not be part of the problem. And as always, stay kick ass and stay unstoppable. I love you guys. Peace.